Hello everybody and welcome to the new series of Gradcracker webinars. Due to their success, we have decided to run them again, featuring some really exciting employers from lots of different sectors, including automotive, banking, consulting, energy, the armed forces. The list is almost endless. All of the webinars, the old and the new, are listed on Gradcracker, so have a look at the lineup today and register your interest. If you are new to the webinars, they are live and recorded, and we feature the recordings the following day on the Employers Company Hub and in the Career Centre. And if you've joined us for the last couple of seasons, it's great to have you back. So today is an event we look forward to each year, where we meet Mercedes Formula One. We will bring you up to speed with everything that's new, and similar to the last webinar, we'll be meeting with Angela, HR Coordinator, and 4 IPs or Industrial Placement students. I'm not sure that anybody needs an introduction to Mercedes Formula One, but Angela, can you introduce yourself to the audience and give everybody an overview about what's new, anything exciting that you want to share with us, and your future plans?
Hi everybody, my name is Angela Green and I'm one of the HR coordinators here at Mercedes. I lead on the Industrial Placement Program, and so I'm really excited to be coming to you again for this webinar and to tell you a lot about our placements that we have available. There's so much going on in Formula One, so it's just a really exciting time. We've come back to this season with renewed efforts to bring that challenge to get back to the front of the grid. And we're also having a lot of exciting changes here at the factory in Brackley, where we're looking to have a green and a carbon neutral campus. So yeah, really, really exciting.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Angela. So before we come back to Angela and find out about the opportunities that they've got open this week, so they're opening this week, alarm, we're going to meet the IPs first. So I'm going to start with you, Hannah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. So where did you go to university? What are you currently studying? And your role at Mercedes Formula One?
I'm Hannah. I'm at Loughborough University. I'm doing a Master's in Mechanical Engineering with this year in Industry. Yeah. And I'm an Electronics Placement student.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah. Bryce?
Beautiful. Hi, I'm Bryce. I study Mechanical Engineering at Harvard over in the States, and I am a Race Strategy Placement student.
And you want to say hello to somebody special who's watching this webinar, Bryce?
Hi, my mom's out there somewhere. So
hi, Bryce's mum. Thanks, Bryce. Jasvia, on to you.
Hi, my name is Jasvia. I'm at University of Birmingham and I am the Commercial Industrial Student Placement.
Perfect. And what are you studying at university?
I'm studying Business Management with a year.
Perfect. Thanks, Jasvia. And last but not least, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm from Oxford Brookes University studying Motorsport Engineering, and I'm the Cost Analyst Industrial Placement.
Super. So lots of different backgrounds there, lots of new and exciting things that they're working on at Mercedes Formula One. And so just to break the ice, my favourite part of the webinar is to get a top fact about you as a company. So Jamie, I know we've handpicked some people. Jamie, tell us about your top fact.
Oh, I knew that. You were going to come to me first. It's my fun fact is around what the W stands for in W14.
Yeah.
And it stands for wagon.
Wagon.
It's German for car.
Oh, never knew that. Good fact. Thank you, Jamie. Sorry for coming to you first, love. Angela, I'm asking you for the next one.
So because we race all over the world, something that connects the factory back to the race team wherever they are is that every Thursday before a race, our hub, which is our on-site restaurant, they put on a menu based on the country that we're going to be racing in. So for me in particular, I'm always very excited when the team go to Japan because I'm very much looking forward to the Japanese food and on offer in the hub on the Thursday.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that sounds exciting.
So when you're in Silverstone, what do you get? Like,
well,
I mash or
everybody was like, "Oh, what kind of British food is going to be on offer here?" And so yeah, we have had things like pie and mash, and then like fish and chips, and like.
You were going to say fish and chips. Of course. Thank you, Angela. And Hannah, I'm asking you the fact.
Mine's one that Paul Mills actually told us on our first day. He's our CPO. Yeah. And he sort of said, oh, why are we called the Silver Arrows? And it's actually because in 1934, there was a weight limit imposed of 750 kilos. And our car came to the Nürburgring at about 751, allegedly. So they stripped paint and stripped off the white paint, and we got in weight limit, and we ended up winning that one. So mimicked a bit by the W14 with all our bare carbon. So yeah.
Oh, wow, perfect. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Okay, so before I hand over to Jess and speak to everybody in more detail about your roles and projects that you've been working on, I want to speak to Angela in a bit more detail about the opportunities that are going to be opening this week. So I say that, so don't forget to follow Mercedes Formula One. So when we do open their opportunities, you'll receive an email and push notification via the app. So Angela, what is going to be on offer to our students this week?
Yep, so we're really exciting to offer placements in most of our technical areas. So, just to name a few, like aerodynamics, vehicle dynamics, in our design office as well. So really, really exciting opportunities there. But also don't forget we have placements in our business support areas, so like Jasper. So, really exciting. We have a new opportunity in business support. So we have a communications industrial placement that we're offering for the first time this year. And we also have a new placement in the design office. So we're looking for a powertrain integration industrial placement as well. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, lots of things on offer. And so tell me a little bit more about the timelines. So you'll be going live tomorrow. What are your deadlines and what is the application process looking like?
Yep. So when we go live this week, so we're looking to be open for only 2 weeks. Yeah. So we do say, please do get your applications in. It'll be a 2-week application window. We're looking to then look at our first stage, which might be a Teams interview, and then bring successful candidates who pass the Teams interviews to assessment centers in late October, early November.
Super, thank you very much, Angela. So what we're going to do now is hand over to Jess, and then towards the end of the webinar, Angela's going to come back to us and give you lots of hints and tips and speak to you all in a bit more detail about the application process and what that looks like. So for now, thank you very much, Angela. And Jessica, I'm going to hand over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carla. What a great introduction. So one of my first questions to you all is why Mercedes Formula One? So Bryce, you're top of my list. So I'm going to come to you first and you can tell me a bit about your personal experience on why you decided to apply to this particular placement.
Yeah, of course. So I think like many of us who work here, and I'm sure many of you who are watching, I've been a huge Formula One fan my whole life. So back in the States, it used to be every Sunday morning, I'd wake up and watch with my family. And so I've always been a fan. And as I was starting to look for opportunities out in the working world, I want to go somewhere where I felt like I could be part of a team and have more of an impact on the company that I was working for. And I didn't think a desk job would fit me. And Formula One is kind of the perfect balance of seeing what you do every day manifest itself, 23 times throughout the year. And so just being able to have that impact was what really drew me to the team.
100%. And do you feel as though so far it's met those expectations?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can say like some of the work I've done, I know for a fact has been read and seen by Toto and Lewis, and just like knowing that things that I have done, have, like they get into important people's hands is really, really empowering. So.
Yeah, that's really good. And we're going to make that point a bit later on, but it's something I really want to be a theme through, running throughout the hour, is that there is so much hands-on work and so much, responsibility that you get really early on, which sounds really, really good. Jamie, I'm going to come to you next. Same question. Why Mercedes Formula One?
Well, it's, as Bryce said, Formula One is probably been watching it with my father since I think I was 6 or 7. So that's always been quite a strong memory for me there. And then growing up it was watching this car go around a track as quick as it can, whilst at the same time being at the pinnacle of technology, was something that really fascinated me. And to come and work at Mercedes was like a dream come true. It was, at the time, they were the powerhouse in the sport, and they were making a real difference both on and off the track. And it felt like a great team to become a part of.
At what point, Jamie, do you pinch yourself and think, "Oh my goodness, I'm actually here, and this is actually"?
The first time was an odd story would be I was going to the toilet and I walked in and Andrew Shovlin was holding the door open for me. And it was this very weird realization of, what am I doing here? This man only exists on TV, and now he's holding the door open for me.
What did you say at that point? Oh my God,
That's what you'd say, Jess.
Screaming internally.
Yeah. Play it cool. Yeah, exactly. No, I love it. Well done, Jamie. And Hannah, coming to you next. Again, same question. Why Mercedes Formula One?
think aside from obviously what the other boys have said, it's actually more on that first interview day, coming to the factory and having a tour around and just feeling already welcome. You can see where you'd be sitting, you can see the people you're working with, you know, you meet your sort of managers, your line managers up and above, and that first welcome day and that first just being in the factory, it's quite uncommon that in these interview days you sort of get a tour around and you get as far in as we did. And I think that was just sort of what made the decision factor between a lot of other companies.
And then when you were applying, did you at any point, was you nervous? Did you think that it was actually ever going to happen? You know, when it actually does happen, what does it feel like? And did you have any reservations before you applied?
I think it's so surreal that you never think out the number of applicants that you yourself are going to get it. And it's always a dream of this is what you want, but it feels so surreal. But once you get down to that sort of stage where you're in person, everything suddenly is so much more relaxed. Speaking to people one-on-one, the whole company was so relaxing. And so you felt at home. You didn't feel like you were being interviewed in the same sort of way as some of the, say, sit-down interviews. So I think it's just incredibly comforting coming in here. The most sort of nerve-wracking bit is that bit when you're on your own applying. From that point,
that's interesting.
Contacting with Angela is like, you know, so calming. She's just lovely on email. So yeah, everyone through those stages is just wonderful.
Which you can see, you know, and obviously the audience would have seen this, but when you were all, you know, speaking to each other before this event, and, you know, the organised sessions that we've all done, you all seem so relaxed. And that is, you know, a really nice thing to see, that you all feel so comfortable so early on. Jasviet, last but absolutely not least, same question, why Mercedes Formula One?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a massive fan of Mercedes and Formula One, like the others as well, but I think Formula One as an industry, it's so fast-paced and so moving, and with the job role, the responsibilities that entails, as you were saying earlier, because it's, you know, you can adapt so much and you can learn so much from it as well. But it's an amazing place to be, and I think to even be here and working with the people who have some responsibilities and learning from them, you know, it's a real privilege.
Yeah, brilliant, really good. And from a business background then, you know, it might not be an obvious route, you know, to go into Formula One. And do you feel as though, you know, that transition's been easy so far? And, you know, could you see a future? I will come to futures a bit later on, so maybe don't answer that bit just yet. But
yeah, no, I mean, from the business aspect, it's nice because obviously they encompass it as one. So even if you do engineering or business or marketing, you know, we're all here together working as a team. So don't ever feel left out, and you know, everyone's always happy to teach you. If you ever want to, you know, need a question, they'll always be there for you as well.
Yeah, perfect. Really, really good. So now onto your roles. So we think that it's important, as I've mentioned already, that we get the idea across to the audience that from day one, you are part of the team and it is very, very hands-on. So I want to hear more a bit about your experiences and, you know, what experience have you gone through that, you know, really kind of gets that message across, really. So Bryce, can I come back to you first? And yeah, what is life like for you at Mercedes Formula One at the moment?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky to have one of the more hands-on roles, I think, working at this team. So I do strategy, which means week in and week out, we're working to prepare the best strategy for our cars for every race. And that includes working every race weekend. So we have the RSR, or the race support room, here in the factory. And here there's a group of about 20 of us who go and help support the team at the track to make that car go really fast around the track every weekend, which is great because I'm involved in everything from the beginning of the very first practice session to the end of the race.
Wow. So give us a bit of an insight into what that's actually like. So because I have the luxury of speaking to you guys in previous webinars, I kind of knew a bit about this room, but for anyone that doesn't know, talk us through what it's really like and, you know, what it is like across those 2 days and, you know, what does it really feel like to hearing everything on as it's going on the ground?
Yeah, so for me, I think this is like my very first weekend was a race weekend, and it was probably the most surreal moment for me, where you walk in and the first thing you do every day is a debrief to drivers. So it's very much like Nash's mission control, if you can imagine that. So super futuristic and crazy. And you put on the headphones, and the first thing you hear is Toto and Lewis just talking about their weeks before, and we go in and we talk about everything. And then throughout all the sessions, we're basically trying to come up with models and simulations that help us come up with the best strategy, and we refine those throughout the weekend. So come race day, we have the clearest picture of what we think it's going to look like, and we're prepared for every scenario that might occur throughout the weekend. So
you feel fully prepared, you know, even at this really early stage of the placement, you feel prepared going in, you feel confident. Have you had a situation yet where you were a bit nervous, you didn't know what to do, and how did that situation pan out? Or is it all smoothly?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so like I said, my very first weekend was a race weekend, which is super stressful. But going in, there's an incredible support team around me who are walking me through everything. And even on that first weekend, I was given things that if I messed up, you know, that might have had an outcome on how we did certain things. And in the time since, I have made mistakes, but I think something that's really crucial about the culture here at Mercedes is it's never about blaming me. I've never really received any of that direct like feedback that, oh, you've messed something up. It's about the team and what can we do to make it better so it doesn't happen again, and really supporting you throughout the process. So even when I have made mistakes, it's just been about teaching you and getting you to do better the next time, which has been super empowering. So
wow. And what a lovely ethos to have. Do you know what I mean? It's not about finger pointing or blaming. It's okay, we've made a mistake. How do we move on and make sure we don't do it again? Brilliant. I love that. So well done, Bryce, for that. Jamie, coming to you. I'm sticking with this order. I hope this is okay, everyone. So Jamie, I'm coming to you next. Yeah, tell us a bit more about your experiences so far.
So my role is looking as a sort of data analyst around our data surrounding the cost cap. So looking at how are we spending our money, where are we spending our money, are there potential savings, making sure that most importantly that we stay under the cap,
Of course, yep.
which we did successfully in 2022.
It's well done.
And then more recently, I've had the opportunity to really push and develop my skill set surrounding machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Interesting. Can you tell us any more about that without going into too much detail, or?
Well, it's looking at sort of forecasting various costs.
Okay, yeah. That was
Actually, got in if you feel like I'm going.
Yeah. Something else, Jessica, that we try to foster. So with our placements, we like to have an overlap. So when we were talking about support and training in the beginning, so we like to offer an overlap in placement. So the previous year's placement is still here when these guys joined, and they got to do a handover and to be trained by the person who was in the role previously. And that's a really nice way to start your placement. So you have somebody on hand all the time. You can ask all your questions. You know, they can answer all the big questions, little questions, anything. And then they finish their placement and hand over to these guys. So it's like a really nice transition.
That is good. And it obviously makes you feel comfortable as well. You've got that person that you can ask those questions to. So yeah, really good, Jamie. So in terms of, have you had any other experiences then whilst you've been here that, again, that kind of hands-on experience that you've had?
Yeah, there's been plenty of hands-on experience in terms of, you know, actually the projects that we do and who I get to work with in the company. So working with some fairly high-profile characters like our engineering director, for example. I remember I had a very first meeting where I was presenting a piece of work I'd done to him, and I spent the whole morning nervous and sweating, and people were supporting me the whole way through. And I said, no, it's going to be fine. And now I've got a really good working relationship with him. And it's that sort of the biggest thing about Mercedes is we do have a hierarchy, but it feels more like a matrix structure in the terms of that these ranks don't really exist. And that's a really good place to be, because I feel like I can go to anybody and ask, you know, a small question, a big question. I feel like I'll get a sensible answer, or they'll try to help me and get the best out of me for it, and we'll run through it. And that's an important thing when you're in industrial placement. The biggest thing for you is learning.
Absolutely, yeah. And also put yourself in those situations as well, because it's quite easy to say, oh, actually, no, I'm not confident enough, but forcing yourself out your comfort zone. So, you know, well done for doing that, because, the thought of doing that makes me feel a bit nervous, you know, so early on. So well done for doing it. Hannah, coming to you, tell me a bit about your experiences so far, and like I said, the hands-on experiences that you've received.
So I'm 1 out of 2 electronics placements. I'm in installation, which is more sort of schematic and harness routing. So we work across the entire car, boat, pit systems, the dyno, pretty much anything that has any form of electronics on it. And then there's another one in systems. So when sensors come back, they test them and see where the issues are, or you can go into PCB design. So I run an installation, but in electronics, and I think throughout the whole company, it's a very sort of, if you want to go and try something, you're more than welcome to go over and you know, sort of see what something's like and go and work in there for a bit, at least get as much experience as you can. So that's what I think is fantastic, is that you're not pigeonholed into one area. You know, I don't sit there at my desk and do one job that I was hired for. I can go out and try what I want and come back and say, actually, I quite like that, and feed that back to my managers and so forth. So yeah, and just working across the whole area. You know, we have the AC37 project with America's Cup, and that's a huge project, and it's just fantastic to be able to work with sort of INEOS with that, and spread out from not just within, you know, Brackley, but spread out to other companies.
Would you say you've had an experience so far that you have had that has surprised you in terms of maybe, oh, you didn't realize you'd like that, or you didn't realize that even could be an option in the future? Has it, you know, the whole kind of placement so far, has it opened your eyes up to anything else in terms of what your interests are, where it could lead? Yeah,
I think one of the things is that when you try and apply for these jobs, and having been in university, you've never had an actual experience of what's it like once you step in. So having that sort of realization on your first day of, this is nothing like what I thought it was, it's 10 times better, is sort of just, you know, a breathe a sigh of relief. But the fact that you can sort of go out and see, actually, I thought I would want to do this and I didn't, I much prefer this area. And you know, having applied for one role, and then you can sort of go and have a look at some others and see where you want to fit. That sort of helps further down the line, you know, with your future career. You can know, actually, I've tried it and this is what I like. But it's a shock once you come in on your first day, first week, and the time to sort of useful work almost is very, very short. So within the first week, we're all, like Bryce said, in something, you know, pretty, you know, useful to the company. So I think that's the good thing, is the just fast design cycle. You know, we're designing things with a sort of 3-day to 3-month lead time, where you have to get things out quickly, and everyone that works in this company is of the same mentality of, you know, we're working for one goal. So,
And I suppose interesting, I don't know if this is a bit naive from my point, but that quick turnaround, isn't it? You know, you've got to think of an idea, you act on your feet, you work as a team to respond, and you've got that deadline over your head of the weekend to come in and you need to get it done. So it must be really exciting being that fast pace as well. That's not like many other industries, really. Responding, acting and getting stuff out and done within 3 days is quite exceptional, really.
Yeah, and I think you start to realize once you're in, sort of just how fast it is compared to other areas. You know, Formula One, we all know, is fast, but when you're in it and you're thinking, God, I've designed this and it's being built in 3 days, like, my goodness me, like, crazy. You know, you see it work. When they say you own your 10th per second, I think they really mean it. It's a sort of mind-blowing thing coming in.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that. Well done, Hannah. Okay, so Jazavia, coming back to you, same question. Tell me about your experiences so far.
Yeah, so in the commercial department, my job role, it's very broad in terms of what I do, which is quite nice. So I'll be working with communications, I'll be doing a lot of stuff with marketing in terms of, you know, the e-com side as well, which is a lot of what I do. So just doing changes to the site, especially when new product launches come on. Because my department's quite small as well, so I have quite a lot of responsibility in terms of that. But it's quite nice because, you know, it's a question of, you know, my manager, he'll be like, you know, just he'll let me do it, and he'll know as well. Like, for example, let me go that again. Actually, sorry. So he knows I can do it, and he won't ever question me in terms of, you know, are you okay? But he'll always be there in terms of what I can do as well. But it's quite nice.
Oh, that's really interesting. So next we're going to talk a bit about projects. So I'll stick with you, Jazavia, because you've just mentioned about, you said that the new site's gone live, website.
Yes. So
did you have much involvement with that, or is it more since it's gone live and that side of it? Could you tell us a bit about that?
So the website went live March time, so it's quite new in terms of they just brought it in-house as well. So I'll be doing a lot of stuff with like, for example, third-party agencies. If there's any issues that may happen, then, you know, I'll be talking and communicating with them with a lot of stuff. So I'll be sorting out the issues, or even in terms of, you know, how to make the website a lot more efficient, what we can do, how we can do this and make the customer journey a lot more better and improve it, for example. So it's quite hands-on in terms of like that. But you'll you'll get to meet a lot of new people and work with, for example, different agencies, but in terms of selling like paid ads, etc. Like that.
You've got the beauty of being able to see lots of different elements of the business as well, haven't you? Which is an exciting, place to be. In terms of a project then that you've worked on so far, Jasvia, can you tell us a bit about, something that you've experienced so far that you would want to share with the group?
Yeah, so they're obviously within commercial, we essentially bring the revenue in to make the car. And a lot of the stuff that I also do is a lot of research and data analysis in terms of, different companies, industries, ones we can tap into, etc., stuff like that, which is very insightful because, I think coming into Formula One, I wasn't, not that I was completely aware, but, I've never had like a full-time office job, and you learn so much in terms of, what they're looking for, etc. And it sort of opens my eyes. But yeah, so just like sort of looking at the different companies, and there was one thing that I did do for someone in terms on the sales side. So they did need, I can't specifically say of course, but some figures and just looking into different, data, and it's very insightful just to see the different trends of Formula One and, things we wouldn't imagine or people we wouldn't imagine to work with.
Yeah, really, really interesting. So from your side then, maybe, if I'm right in saying, almost less about the actual mechanics of the car. So, but if you did have the interest to get involved in that in terms of, the race weekends and things like that, Bryce spoke about his experience, can you get involved in that? Is there anything that, if you're not actually hands-on towards the car, but you've still got that real interest and want to see what's going on, can you get those experience if you wanted to?
I think like a lot of the others were saying, you can do as much as you want if you just, ask the questions. And it's quite nice having this IP cohort as well, because obviously there's not a lot of stuff I would know in terms of the engineering side. So, I can easily just pop up to one of the guys and, they can bring me down, let me look at the car, explain certain things to me, or even meet people on the team as well quite nicely. So there's a lot of stuff you can sort of engage with and learn as well quite nicely, but definitely.
That's good. Really, really good to hear. Bryce, I'll come back to you then. If you could tell me a project that you have been working on so far and what the experiences were like.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'd say my job is so closely related to the races. It's less about one project and more about the ongoing flow of the, one race weekend to the next.
Okay.
So a lot of what we do is all data analytics and trying to, like I said, predict what's going to happen throughout the course of the weekend. So in the days leading up to a race like we are now, so looking ahead to Singapore, it's doing work trying to see what historically has happened in years past, what weather reports are coming up, what data do we know about the tires from previous races this year, and trying to come up with a baseline for our strategy going into the weekend. And then when the weekend comes and we do our practice sessions, we go and we have a plan of what data we're trying to get, what we're trying to learn about the car, what we're trying to learn about our competitors' cars, and updating that throughout the weekend by, running various models and using different tools that we build in-house. And then at the end of the weekend, a lot of what we do is reflecting on what has happened and how we can do it better, which I think is a really key part of what we do here as a team, is not only trying to get good results, but seeing, what mistakes have we made and what can we do to fix that. And so a lot of what I do is going back through the decisions that we've made and trying to see if there's other ones that we could have made to optimize our strategy and maybe get, those extra couple points or learn something new about the car throughout the weekend. So
this sounds incredible. Again, it still blows my mind every time I speak to you guys how hands-on you get to be. So in those situations, if you did have an idea or if you did have a thought or suggestion, you could bring that to the table and then that could potentially change the game of how the race goes and how you finish.
100%, yeah.
So has that ever happened yet? Have you ever suggested anything? Have you ever thought, oh, I've got an idea here?
Yeah, so it's one of those environments where you're definitely encouraged to speak up. And I think that's one of the things I said first days. If you have an idea, you're coming in as someone who doesn't know what we've been doing. I mean, a lot of people in my department have been working there for almost a decade. So sometimes it does take a new face to come in and see, where there might be something really obvious that's been missing. And so I feel like maybe I haven't had a completely groundbreaking moment, but
not yet.
And I brought up things and they say go run along with it and see what you can do. And so I think similar to others, a lot of what I do is data analytics on past things. So they say if you think there's a trend here, go and try and solve it, see if there's something that we're missing, and you go and you try and do your best. And I've presented things to my supervisors and say, oh, this is really good, we can expand upon this, and it grows. So yeah, you are really empowered to just come up with ideas and do it. If it's going to help the team, they want you to do it. That's what we're all about.
So that problem solving mindset seems to be key. And I can imagine, Angela, that's probably a skill that you look for in an application, is, you know, that problem solving, you know, where can we see a trend? In terms of, you know, the analytics, I don't want to go into the detail of the analytics, but, you know, it's great as well that you've got access to all that, you know, again, so early on that you're given the responsibility that you can access all this data, you can compare, you can contrast. Was you surprised by any of that? How much you were just exposed to?
100%. I think that's one of the craziest things for me, was coming in and just the transparency.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm in pretty much every weekend that involves the drivers from the beginning to the end. So I hear what they're talking about before and after the sessions. I have access to pretty much all of the data surrounding the car, and what we do with it every weekend, and why we make the decisions that we do. And to have just come in from not knowing anything to, in my first week, like being exposed to all this, was really, really enlightening. And it just goes to show how much of a part of the team you are. Like, as an industrial placement, you're not an add-on. They're not here to make you do like the grunt work that no one else wants to do. You are an integral part of the team. They value you, and what you can contribute is really, really useful, and helps us be really successful in this industry. So
yeah, definitely. So you mentioned about the debrief then. So would that tend to happen straight after, or is that the kind of the week after the event that tends to happen?
Yeah, no, so everything's very immediate. So there's a debrief before, usually about an hour to 30 minutes before each session. And then afterwards, 30 minutes after the session. So once the drivers have a chance to change out and, you know, relax. So it's immediate. And so you get to hear their feedback about what they liked about the car, what they didn't, what they think other teams are doing, and what they want to try out, and what they think might be really, really good. So you're exposed to all of that. It's just wild to think that you can, you know, hear Lewis complain that he doesn't like this, or he wishes we did this, or something like that. You're right there, which is so cool.
And again, it's another skill to have, is communication. Just see what I mean? You know, if say, for example, you know, say the driver, Lewis, whoever it may be, George, and they're saying one thing, and you've got to, take that in consideration, but, you know, compare it to the data, and then, you know, is it that much of a change, or is it going to be a dramatic change doing this? Again, it must be really, really overwhelming to get this feedback, think, what can you do, how do you do it, and then do it in a time frame which you've got to do it all super quickly. You've got to have composure.
Exactly. And I'll say, I listen to them, and I still learn something new every single time I listen to one of these meetings. The people that are talking are full of knowledge, and have been doing what they've been doing for such a long time, that you always learn something. There's always something to pick up. So in one hand, yeah, it's a little overwhelming, but it's also, I just look at it as an experience to just learn. It's an opportunity to get better at your job, and to understand the world that you're working in a little bit better. And so for that, I'm really thankful to be where I am, and to be able to see everything that I do.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. Well done for having that confidence. Jamie, going to come to you next, my love. Projects. Yeah, tell me a project that you've worked on so far that you're super proud of.
The project I'd be most proud of is my most recent one, which would be looking at various design projects within the design office. And then we're trying to evaluate, in terms of salary cost, how much they cost us each month. And then applying an artificial intelligence model, we're trying to predict when in the year they may land, and how much they may cost us in a year or 2 years' time. So we can, you know, start to plan more effectively in terms of how much salary we're spending, and where, how can we save, can we start cutting some things somewhere, that sort of work.
Yeah, brilliant. And then again, in terms of exposure to data, knowledge, information, to have that and to be working on things like that is absolutely massive. Is that something you expected? I'm guessing not.
No, when I started, there was absolutely no way. I thought I'd be working on machine learning and coding artificial intelligence. So it's been really great to sort of discover that, and find that it's something that I'm really passionate about and I enjoy a lot, and also, you know, be surrounded by the right people to help me develop those skills.
Sure, definitely. Really, really good. Great stuff. And Hannah, coming to you next, projects.
So I think the good thing is to be able to flip from sort of, you know, working on the dyno looms to then say the boat, which we've got. So my current project is across the America's Cup boat. So we're in quite a busy design phase for that, particularly within electronics. And so I sort of get given the responsibility of, you know, I can take from start to finish all the way through a harness routing, you know, across, you sort of speak with different departments, hydraulics, interface with everyone, and then, you know, go through straight through phase all the way through to design review and then out to purchasing. And to sort of have that, you know, it's almost my part, you know, my part of going from point to point, and you sort of learn so much with different opinions. You know, you might think this is the best way to go, but actually there's plenty of people that have come before me with so much knowledge, and they just think of things you've never thought of. And, you know, just learning different ways to do things, different ways of things that you've never thought of, thinking through like everything. You've got to think how it's built and how they're going to go from stage one of me designing to your physical product. So I think that's the good thing. And just the sheer scale of our America's Cup boat is any times bigger than the boat is huge, than the car, sorry. So yeah, that sort of scale and sort of thinking how big is this and how much does it weigh and things like that. There's so many considerations to think of through each of our jobs, that you just end up multitasking a lot more than you ever have. So
another great skill to have.
Yeah, it's insane.
So Hannah, a couple of questions there. So in terms of your role, before you applied or when you were going through the application process, did you know that there was going to be a crossover then between the boat and the car? Or is this just because you've shown an interest into the boat side of it that you're kind of getting those experiences?
Yeah, so I knew that I'd be working across multiple different projects. We run multiple projects alongside the car, current car, future car, boats, you know, pits, everything. We run so many different projects that you have the opportunity to work on really whatever you see and whatever needs your sort of attention. So I'm happy to work with so many different people, and I think it's a good thing for a lot of each department to be working with different departments, sort of interfacing with each other. So yeah, I knew beforehand, and to sort of know that you have a part on so many different things is a really key thing. You know, when I see the race next year, I'll be like, I've worked on that. I've worked on that.
Well done you. What an amazing, all four of you. It must be incredible. You know, you've said about your personal experience, you know, being 7-year-old sat with your dad or sat with your family on a Sunday afternoon watching it. You must be like pinch yourself, think, oh my goodness, I'm actually now here. I've got the shirt on and I'm doing this and I'm actually working on the car. It must be an amazing feeling. Hannah, just going back, and I felt like I asked you a similar question before, so don't feel like I'm targeting you when I say this. It was just because it's come to my mind. But in terms of, because of that crossover and because all of the experiences you've had, again, do you ever have that worry that you don't, you know, your knowledge isn't big enough yet? You know, you're only second year at university, you know, you haven't completed your degree yet. Was there any reservations of, I don't know enough? Am I going to be all right to apply to this?
Yeah, I mean, I do a mechanical engineering degree, so I'm nowhere near an electronics degree, but I know V = IR, so, you know, that's all I need. But yeah, by no means do you have to know everything going in. A lot of it actually is quite mechanical in terms of routing and sort of how you decide with other departments. You know, it's really your base skills rather than your sort of, I don't know how to call it, your theoretical knowledge, like your book knowledge. Less so much that, especially once you move from university into this sort of job. It's really not as much book knowledge as you think it is. It's very sort of, you pick up things from everyone else. You know, no one's ever taught me this in my degree. No one's ever taught me this role. You come in and you learn it. Same for, I think, everyone. It's very much, you know, you pick it up as you work here, and you sort of learn as you go along. So yeah, by no means do you have to do a specific degree or a specific sort of area to come into any of these roles. Yeah.
So thinking, this probably leads me nicely on to the next question, because something which as Gradcracker, when we're saying to students about the benefits of doing a placement, is that the placement almost pays off when you're back at university as well, because you sit and then realizing, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much I learned and how much now I can apply this to, you know, my final year of study. And would you say that you're starting to feel that benefit? Are you almost excited to go, not to go back to university? Obviously, you want to stay in Mercedes on as long as you can. But, you know, that feeling of, oh my goodness, now the experience and the knowledge I've gained just so far, and how you can apply that into, you know, your career in the future. It must feel really exciting to think, you know.
Yeah.
what the next steps could, lead to.
You learn so much from so many different people about the real world almost, and we're sort of in this crazy Formula One world, so maybe not the real world, but your degree doesn't teach you the same sort of thing as this job does, and to be able to transfer back to uni, the sort of team principle, the principle that the company holds, and the project management is a big thing. The level of project management in here is just insane, that we've never had in group projects at university. So maybe we'll take some of that back and do a bit better. But yeah, I think there's just so many things you learn from each individual person that you can then take back, and just the core skills of communication or teamwork and anything like that, just to such
problem solving, teamwork, communication. It's all just these, sounds basic, doesn't it, when you say it like that? Community team, but actually not. You've got this hardcore experience of this now, which is absolutely amazing. I'm going to kind of stick with that. Is anyone else want to add to that in terms of, is there something that you feel as though you've experienced and you think, oh, wow, that's a massive benefit, or something I've learned and think, oh, wow, I didn't realise maybe I wasn't as good as that before, but I am now. Jamie, coming to you because you're smiling.
I'm quite lucky in the fact, not lucky, but I finished in 3 weeks. So I was very lucky to have extended 3 months after my placement finished. And it's actually just you feel so confident going back into your final year, that now that you've gathered a routine and you've worked out where your boundaries are and actually how hard you can work. And now, I look back on some of my first year projects that at the time took me 6 weeks, and I go, I could probably do that in a day. Go out.
Wow.
And it's the confidence and time management now to have that routine, to have discipline, to really crack on with work, and to know that whatever you do for your dissertation is going to be your best work, and what the grades you get at the end of it, you're going to deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's quite a few studies on that they say after doing a year in industry, going back into your final year, quite a lot of students actually get a better grade because of the experience. Because like you say, that working to a deadline, you'll be more efficient, having the experience that you've gained pushes you maybe a little bit harder potentially. So you might see that coming out with the first now. Jamie, no pressure.
I was going to be
I think for all of them, you guys are so fantastic, and you really pushed yourselves and really grown and developed over the year. And so, when you go back to uni, you have that confidence because you've achieved so much in this year, made such a fantastic contribution. So it is really amazing. So, I hope everybody goes back to uni after their placement feeling, that sense of achievement.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Bryce and Jasveer, do you want to add anything to that in terms of your experiences?
I guess I can just tack on and kind of say more of the same, but at least for me, I came in, a lot of the role that I do is data analysis, and as a mechanical engineer, I didn't come in feeling confident about that. That's not something that I'd done a lot of. Like our coding classes back at school are very basic, and to think that was me my entire job was a little intimidating at first. But to have come in and just been able to pick up and have people teach me, I think the biggest thing for me returning to university is just the idea that these things that I never thought I could do, or I thought were out of my reach, they're very achievable if you kind of put your mind to it, which is very cheesy, but if you put your mind to it and look for the resources out there, there's a lot that you can do that you previously didn't think you could. And I've already done so much of that in my time here, to think that I'll have a whole another almost a year to expand upon that and then take that back with me to university is kind of mind-blowing for me. I've done more, I think, in the time that I've been here than I think I have in all of my projects back at uni combined, which is really weird to wrap your mind around, that I've packed so much in such a short amount of time. So I think just being able to learn so much, and like Hannah said, in a real world situation, which is so much different than anything you experience in university. It's a completely different workflow and a completely different set of, I guess, expectations about how you do things and the professionalism that you approach them with, that I think it just puts you one step ahead of everyone when you go back, and on the right foot going forward to the rest of your career. So.
Oh, there you are.
Wow.
I'll just go and apply. There you are. Don't need to say anymore, do we really?
So I was just going to say, well, we're going to go on now and speak to Angela about how the students apply, obviously through
Yes.
Gradcracker, but all about the application process. So if we can start there, Angela, and really break down the different areas of the application process, and maybe give some hints and tips per section, I suppose. If we can start with that, if you don't mind.
Yep. So we ask for all applications to be submitted online. So we have our applications via Workday, which is our platform that we use. We ask candidates to give some thought to a cover letter, and to include that as part of a single PDF along with your CV. Your cover letter really gives you the space to kind of tell us what you'd like us to know. But also part of your online application process is to fill in a questionnaire. And this questionnaire, again, gives you the space to tell us about your projects and to really bring them to life. So I would say in regards to hints and tips, like these guys who are here on this webinar with me have done really well in bringing their projects to life, giving us a high-level overview of what the project entailed, but also talked really well about what their contribution was or what their learnings or their learning outcomes were. So, you know, it's easy to just like list a whole bunch of projects that you worked on and kind of leave it at that. But we would always encourage candidates to really go that extra mile and to kind of bring this to life for us.
Yeah. Is there any cap on like length of CV that you're looking for, length of any sort of single PDF, but can students go, if they've got a lot to talk about, can they go on to 3 pages, for example, of the CV? Is there any limitations there? So I know that some students are quite anxious about that.
Yeah, so I would always say, you know, we don't have hard and fast rules around length of CV, but I would just always encourage candidates to have a look at our questionnaire as well, because we have so much space for you to tell us about all different aspects of your education. Just make sure that maybe you have those answers ready as well. So you can put those into our questionnaire, so you do have that space, so you don't have to feel like you have to cram it all into your CV.
Perfect. Okay, no problem. And then if you were to be successful, you know, people watching this webinar, if they were to be successful, there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, between you offering positions to the students actually starting next July time. So how would you suggest that they fill that gap? You know, obviously they'll still be studying, but what else could they do to prepare for the first day with you?
Yep. So we hold a big welcome day. So I think Hannah's already spoken about that a little bit. So we invite everybody to come back to the factory, and we hold a big day where, you know, all of our industrial placements can meet each other. You can see your hiring manager outside of the interview process, which is also really nice. But throughout that year, you know, we just encourage you to do as well as you can in your subject areas and in your studies. You know, enjoy being a student. I think these guys will attest to the fact that, you know, work life is different from being a student. So we would just say, you know, work hard at your studies. You know, we will train you and teach you what you need to know when you do start with us, with our nice training plan and handover transition period.
Well, that is a good lead on to my next question. So I know that you mentioned that there is the handover period of about a month's time. So what other training and development is offered to the students during the first couple of months?
So if there's any particular software that we want the students to use, we have different software training programs. We also are quite active on LinkedIn Learning. We have other, you know, kind of local training in place. So a lot of industrial placements could potentially have like a mentor within their group, or, you know, not just their hiring manager who they report into, but somebody else who they work quite closely with and kind of helps with their projects and things like that. And also, you know, the learning and development is just, it's a whole business type thing. We're always learning, we're always developing, and it's kind of that cycle that we have across the whole business. So everybody's on a journey trying to make improvements and find efficiencies. So it's kind of getting into that mode of working. So it is really nice at the end of the year when you think, wow, this is where I started and this is where I've ended up. And, you know, it's a really, really fun journey.
Perfect. Thanks, Angela. And just to go back to the students on that question, so I'm guessing with your different opportunities that you're involved in your different roles, that you are offered training in different ways. So I don't know, Hannah, starting with you, if you could tell us a little bit more about the favourite bit of training that you had and how that was given to you.
Yeah, so we obviously got training over whatever I use. We use quite different softwares, and things like that, different licenses in electronics. So it's quite one-on-one training, rather than given to the entire cohort. We do get general training for a lot of things, but based on your job role, it's the one-on-one or the sort of individual, same sort of thing as learning on the job. Once you've picked up the basics, it's a lot of your own questions. What do you need to know, rather than what can they just tell you and you just take in? You don't take it in until you really start playing with it, really, and start having a go with what you need to do. So it's very much, you ask the questions, you get what you get out of it. So, and you come up with so many questions in the first week, it's unbelievable. But they're more than happy to tell you. So it's very much sort of personalized, one-on-one. I sit directly opposite my my line manager, so he gets showered with questions every day. So it's more sort of that sort of personalized basis, rather than general being spoken at sort of training.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm guessing, Hannah, the kind of the key there is to make sure you ask questions. Don't sit and not know the answer to something. People are there to help you. Absolutely,
yeah. Any question you have, it's like we all get, sounds crazy sitting next to Bryce, who gets to do it every weekend, but as students who are part of the cost cap, we then get to also work in race support for one weekend, or for various weekends that we do on a sort of rota style, and we get training for that. We do transcribing, and we can sit in those briefings, same as Bryce. So that's sort of the same thing, as you just have to ask the questions. You're doing transcribing that I've never done before, and I've got to do it for the first practice. I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. You just ask those questions, and you get that training for that. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Hannah. On to you, Bryce. What kind of training have you been given?
Yeah, so I think very similar things. So a lot of the stuff that we work with in race strategy is all built in-house. It's all stuff that my coworkers gone and built from scratch to do very specific things that we want. And so for me, it was all one-on-one training, which is really, really nice. So partially the previous IP, who would go and walk me through his day-to-day and how he did his job and what he needed to do to be successful there. And then once he left, just my entire team, really. Like you said, asking questions, I think, is probably the most important part of my job, and being okay with being wrong is going to happen a lot, just because there is so much that you need to pick up in such a short amount of time. And so it has just been a lot of, hey, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you come sit with me for 30 minutes and walk me through this and show me how to do it the right way, so I can do it right going forward, which has been really, really nice. I think that's one of the best ways that I learned personally, is just having someone walk me through, and to be able to, like she said, play with it and see what I need to do and be wrong with it sometimes. And so that's been really, really great.
Just jumping, that's a really good point as well, is accepting that, right, you might ask a question or you might do something, and understanding it might be wrong, and it's all right to, and not to take it personally either. I don't know if it's a British thing, they say that sometimes out there, that we don't take rejection very well. But it is an understand, actually, I've done this, I put myself out there a bit, or you put yourself in an awkward situation, you've done something, and understanding, okay, it's all right to be wrong. It's all right that, you're not going to then get into trouble after or waste time, because any experience is good experience. So yeah, it's a really good point you say there about being wrong, and it's all right being wrong.
Well, I think because everybody's just learning, aren't they? Sorry, Hannah.
No, that's right. I was going to say, we as a company, I think, hold it quite strong that even when we're wrong, that's when we learn our most sort of important, I don't know what the word
lessons.
is. Lessons. Lessons. That's it. Yeah, we learn our lessons when we're wrong, or when we're not at the top of our game. So yeah.
That's really
I think
good.
as well, you're all working towards the same goal at the end of the day. So it's you've all got the same path in mind. So it's good to be wrong. I think it's better to put an idea out there and be wrong or not quite right, than just to sit there and not say anything at all, because in that way you're not learning, are you? So contribution is definitely the key. Jasvir and Jamie, have you got anything that you want to add on your training and development? Anything a little bit different?
It's just building on what Bryce and Hannah have said, really.
Of course,
Asking lots of questions, taking advantage of our resources like LinkedIn Learning. So we're very lucky that in-house we get to access LinkedIn Learning for free, and we can take courses on any specialism that we want to do. And it's exactly like Bryce said, it's the feeling that it's okay to be challenged by other people. So you're not being challenged by other people because they don't like your idea or they think it's stupid. They're being challenged because they want to get the best out of it, and they want the best out of you. And that is a really big feeling across the team, from the time of interview to the time that you walk out the door. Even if during the interview, if you're say you get asked a technical question you don't understand, you can say, I don't understand that. And you really feel like that the interviewer will just work with you through it step by step to help you and get the best out of you. But that it's not that, oh, you're wrong, so, we're just going to write off this interview.
Yeah. Move on. Perfect. Does there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the software we use is not as complex as the ones they use in engineering, but definitely you've got that one-to-one with, anyone, your manager, and, the past IP that was there as well. It's, just ask as many questions as you can get, as you can ask as well, because it's still, they're there for you to learn, and, even if you do find something hard, just speak up and they'll make sure to go through it with you, which is really nice as well.
Fantastic, thanks, Shazvia. And before we come on to speak to the students about top tips for your first day at Mercedes Formula One, Angela, we've got to have a bit of a mixed audience tuning in today. So some who are undergraduates, looking for a placement, some who may be graduating anytime soon or have already graduated. And so tell us a little bit more about your graduate positions, and do you have them? Can people come back as graduates? Tell us a bit more about that.
So we do have graduate positions, but unlike other companies, our graduate positions are permanent. So we look to keep our grads. So our grads would be on a 2-year program as a grad, and then we would look to keep them and promote them throughout their career, continue to develop them. So unlike the industrial placement program, it doesn't follow an annual cycle. So whenever we have grad opportunities available, they will be on our career site. And no doubt on Gradcracker as well, to publicize
absolutely
those as possible. So, we would always say that, if you are interested, please do follow us, please register your interest, because, our grad opportunities, they aren't an annual intake like IP, so definitely keep an eye on it.
Perfect, thanks, Angela. Yeah, and just to reiterate, so make sure you do follow on Gradcracker to be alerted this week when they open their placements, and then obviously, like Angela said, when they have graduate positions in the future. So now I want to come back, and again, Hannah, I'm going to start with you. What one hint, tip, bit of advice would you give a student who, say, is starting with Mercedes Formula One next July?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think for me, the biggest thing was just taking it in. It went so fast to come. I think I'd flown into the country like 2 days before, so I was still fresh. I was still jet lagged, and showing up to work, it was just like mind blowing to walk in. And you walk in, there's a Formula One car on your right, and you're going through and you're seeing all these people that and it goes by so fast. I think my recommendation would just be to take it in and to feel like you belong is another one. It's so surreal that I think you kind of forget to realize that you've earned it, you've deserved it. You do belong here, and you are part of this team. So just really feeling welcome and feeling like it's a place you can be yourself would be my advice.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely, Bryce. Hannah, did you have anything?
Yeah, I think I'd say on similar lines, but enjoy it. Our first week, we got to go to Silverstone on the Friday. They took us all to Silverstone. We got our team kit on the first day, everything like that. The first week is almost there for you to enjoy. Taking all the training, obviously, but we get given so many opportunities throughout that your first week is very much, take it all in, just enjoy it, and then we'll start from there. So yeah, very much so.
I've got a question there. So do you wear your t-shirts every day?
We have team kit, but I don't think you have to.
I don't know. So you could wear your own stuff if you wanted, but
we have dress. Yeah.
So we're like business casual, I'd say.
Business casual.
It depends on like what kind of role you're doing or like who you're seeing, for instance. So we do have team kit that's more office wear. And then we also have team kit that's more like test and development, like operational kind of side. So this is our RSR kit.
Look very smart, guys. Love it.
I think we'd wear it every day, wouldn't we, Jess? It's just like where I work. Show it off. Jamie, Jazvia, your hints and tips.
So I suppose my hints and tips for the first week would be, look, I could totally agree with Hannah and Bryce on their points, but it's also, use that opportunity to really network. Talk to as many people as you can, get to know people in the office, because it's you'll meet a wide range of people with a wide range of skills and abilities that will really help you during your placement. And another really big aspect of the industrial placement program is the networking aspect and meeting people. That's my just network.
Yeah, brilliant. Networking, put yourself out there, try and get some relationships. Sorry, Jess.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jimmy, because obviously you extended for the extra 3 months. So the person who will be starting or taking over the reins from you, they've started now, have they?
Yes, she has.
What was it like doing that handover? I bet, again, that feeling of them asking you questions and then you being that person that's, Mr. Experience and having all the answers. I bet that felt strange, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was interesting because obviously, you say you can ask questions, any questions you like, and then there are some days that you really need to get work done and they're going up to your desk. And you have to remind yourself, I was that person as well.
Oh, yeah.
But no, my replacement, she's done really well. She's really caught the reins very quickly, and this wasn't just me training her. It was our boss and her mentor. Everybody pitches in, and that's the good thing about this team.
You must really check yourself out and think, oh my goodness, this is how much I've actually learned in the past year. And I don't ever think you know how much you know until you're training somebody else and you think, oh my goodness, yeah, I know that bit. Or suggest you a question, you're like, well, I know the answer to that one.
Yeah, it must be nice, that full circle moment.
Yeah, handing back. Jasvia?
Yeah, I think for the first week, in general as well, just be you and be confident.
Yeah.
You're there for a reason, you picked the reason, so you can do this.
Yeah.
But also, like the others were saying, just taking in, I think it's such a surreal moment when I first walked in, because I was one of those people who just, took a photo and then signed. But yeah, I mean, because like Tosa's office is right next to me as well, so I see him here and there. But yeah, definitely take it all in. Yeah, just enjoy it as well, because it's a big thing and you learn so much as well.
Yeah, I love that. Be yourself. You deserve to be here. Just take it all in your stride. I think those are really, really, really good suggestions that you've made to the students. Can't believe it's been an hour already. So thank you all for joining us today. It's been absolutely amazing again. Don't doubt it ever will be with Mercedes Formula One. But make sure, like we've just said before, make sure you follow them on Gradcracker to be alerted. We will be going live with their opportunities this week. So take on board everything that Angela's just said, and also the students as well when you're getting your application together and putting that in. There's a very short window, like Angela mentioned at the beginning. It is only 2 weeks. So we're not saying rush your application, but just bearing in mind there's not much time to get your applications together.
But do check your application before you send it off. Don't rush it. Don't do silly things like spelling mistakes or anything like that.
Get somebody else to read it, Jessica.
Someone else to read it, reread it time and time again before you hit send. But yes, do it in the 2-week deadline, please.
Yeah. And make sure you double check your contact numbers, email addresses, don't get me started. Right, just put it out there. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. Join us on Thursday. We'll be joined by Sellafield. But good luck in your applications, and we're hoping that you'll be sat on this webinar with us next year being a placement student. So fingers crossed, good luck everybody, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.